Alex is too distraught to talk to the police, so I have to tell them what we saw. Ben is still in there. We saw him hanging from the rafters, entangled in ropes. I think he's dead. I spare everyone the rest of the grisly details of what we saw back there. The cops would see it for themselves when they went to cut him down. I was in shock when we found him, and Alex remained composed enough to drag me out of the funhouse, but she burst into tears as soon as we made it to the front entrance to wait for the cops to arrive. What could have possibly done that to him? Whatever it was had to be really strong in order to get him tied up there like that. Ben is a pretty big kid, and he's strong himself. I know he must have put up a hell of a fight. He's not afraid of much, but the look of pain and fear on his face was enough to scare anyone, no matter how brave you think you are. He was covered in blood. It was the most blood I've ever seen. It was splattered all over the ceiling and dripping from the ropes that were wrapped around his limbs and throat, strangling him. I saw bones protruding from his torn skin, bent in different directions, and they weren't white like I've always known them to be. Instead, they were now red from being drenched in his blood. I don't know how anyone could survive that much agony and torture. Seeing that is going to leave me traumatized for the rest of my life. I hear Alex shout, "Holy shit, look, he's still alive," as she rushes over to the gurney being rolled toward the ambulance. Ben is lying there lifeless, or at least he appears to be. A white sheet is covering him up to his neck. When I see him blink, I breathe a sigh of relief. I approach the gurney once it comes to a stop at the back of the ambulance. "Ben, are you okay? What happened?" He remains unresponsive no matter how many times I repeat the question. Then the EMTs load him into the ambulance and speed away. Alex asks to accompany him to the hospital, but the police have more questions for us, so we stay behind. Afterwards, the police drive me home for the second time this week. I think my mom might have a nervous breakdown if it happens again. Dad is extremely angry, and he demands to know where my brother Travis is, so I tell him the first thing that comes to mind. He ran into some of his friends at the carnival, and then we all got separated. I don't know if he believes me or not, but he drives me to the hospital to go check on Ben. His family is gathered in the waiting room, devastated and crying. They turn to me for answers, but I have none for them. I just tell them the same thing that I told the police. We were at the carnival hanging out, and then him and Destiny went one way and Alex and I went another. Destiny and Alex show up a little while later, and then Destiny tells them her side of the story, which of course sounds crazy to anyone who hasn't already seen the Black Shadow. When they all just stare at her in disbelief, I walk over, grab her by the shoulders, and steer her away from the crowd. "Destiny, do you realize how crazy this all sounds?" "But it's the truth," she argues. "I know it's the truth, but do you think they're going to believe us?" She thinks about it for a second, then shakes her head no. "No one is going to believe us unless they've seen it with their own eyes. And since they don't believe us, it's up to us to figure out what's going on around here in Whitehurst. I think whatever grabbed Ben and drug him into the funhouse has something to do with my little brother going missing. So are you going to help us?" Her eyes grow big and wide. "This is all so scary. Ben could have died tonight." I grab her by the shoulders and tell her, "Which is exactly why we need to do something to put a stop to this. If it has Bryan, he could still be alive and he needs our help." She reluctantly agrees. Honestly, I could care less about her helping us, but we can't have her going around telling people what we saw and what's been going on. It'd be easier for me to keep a close eye on her if she's always with us. As Destiny and I are standing there talking, I see the Black Shadow at the end of the hall. It lurks there for a minute. It's as if it's waiting for me. Then it quickly disappears around the corner. Destiny notices the strange look on my face and turns around to see what I'm staring at. "I just saw the Black Shadow. Come on, we have to follow it," I demand. I ask my dad if I can have some money to go get a drink, and then Destiny, Alex, and I head down the long corridor after it. Trying not to look too suspicious, I wait until we walk past the other people in the hallway before I start to run the rest of the way. The girls try to keep up, but as I round the corner, I lose sight of them. The shadow is gone. but I peer into the doors to any open rooms, hoping to still come across it. Maybe it's hiding. Maybe it's afraid of us. I don't really know, but I keep looking. When Alex and Destiny catch up with me, I ask them if they've seen any sign of it. They tell me that they haven't, so we continue to look together. Our search leads us all over the hospital, and when we do finally see it again, we follow it into an elevator, but it disappears again into the ceiling above. It leaves behind a foul odor, a stench that is indescribable. The only word I can think of is death, and that scares me a little. My heart is pounding out of my chest. Where should we go next? I ask the others. Destiny shrugs her shoulders, but makes sure to keep her eyes focused on the ceiling above. She doesn't want to be surprised if the shadow reappears. When the elevator comes to a stop, we are on the ground floor of the hospital. We exit the elevator and see a sign labeled morgue and then an arrow pointing to the right. Alex looks my way and says, "I think we ended up down here for a reason. Let's check it out." It's extremely cold down here. I assume because they need to keep the bodies from decomposing. We inch our way down the dimly lit hallway. There's an empty gurney sitting in the hallway. Sadness washes over me once I think about how Ben could be down here right now. It's very quiet, which is kind of strange. I'd expect at least one person to be working down here, but we don't come across a single soul. Suddenly my phone rings and I hurry to silence it just in case there is someone down here and we just haven't run into them yet. I see that it's my brother Travis calling. I swiftly answer the call and expect him to be mad because he got into trouble. But he's the opposite. He actually sounds worried. "I heard what happened to Ben. Is he okay?" I reply, "I don't know. He's alive, but he was hurt pretty bad. I'm at the hospital with Dad now." "What about that black shadow thing from the pictures? Did you find out anything about that?" I reveal, "No, but it's here at the hospital. We're following it right now." I hear the sound of footsteps coming down the hallway in the opposite direction, so I signal to Destiny and Alex, who are walking behind me, to stay quiet. I whisper into the phone, "I gotta go." He yells back, "Be careful, bro," right before I hang up, and I can hear the concern in his voice. The three of us barely make it into an empty room before someone in a doctor's lab coat comes around the corner. I quickly close the door and peek out of the small rectangle window. A man walks by, carrying a clipboard, and then one of the girls sneezes. The man comes to a halt. I glance back at them with the angriest glare I can muster and immediately know who the culprit is. Alex has a guilty look on her face. "Sorry," she whispers. I expect the man to come searching for the sound, but after another moment passes, he continues walking down the hallway. When we hear the elevator doors open and close, we sneak back out and make our way farther down the hall. When we get almost to the end, I finally say, "I don't think there's anything down here. Come on, let's go back upstairs before our parents come looking for us." Both of them agree, but not for the same reason. They're scared to death. It's written all over Destiny's face, and I can see the fear in Alex's eyes. Just as we turn around and start heading back down the hall to the elevator, the lights begin to flicker. I see Alex and Destiny huddled together, and then the lights go completely out. I hear Alex's voice faintly screaming my name as a tremendous gust of wind soars past us, causing me to lose my breath. I hear a lot of commotion behind me. Loud thumps and sneakers squeaking like they're being dragged across the floor. When the wind stops, the lights come back on, and I finally catch my breath. I look around in a panic. Both of the girls are gone. It was only 5 seconds that the lights were out. Where did they go that fast? I hear frantic screams coming from somewhere at the end of the hall. I race down there, and as I turn the corner... "What are you doing here? I thought you two were grounded," I asked the twins. Daniel says, "Well, we were, but we ran into Travis at the gas station and he told us what happened to Ben. He was already on his way here, so he gave us a ride. Your dad told us that you, Alex, and Destiny went to get a drink, so we came looking for you." Then Dominic adds, Travis told us you guys saw the black shadow here, so you went after it. Yeah, I think it did that to Ben, I answer. Travis bursts into laughter. What are you talking about? You keep talking about this shadow like it's a person. You do realize that it's probably just some psychopath luring you. You're going to be the next victim if you keep it up. Then Dominic asks, wait, where are the girls? The lights begin to flicker again, and before I can answer, I see a little shadow run away down the hall. I point after it and tell them, I just saw Bryan. Come on, this way. I run off down the hall after him, and they follow my lead until we get to the middle of the hallway and hear screams back in the direction that we just came from. We all look back, and then we see Destiny bust out of one of the rooms and go running across the corridor into another hallway. It looks like she's in trouble. Come on, Dominic tells us. The three of them chase after her, but I grab Travis by the arm and plead, Please, I saw Bryan. We have to go after him. He contemplates for a moment and then says okay. So the twins head off one way to look for Destiny and Alex, and Travis and I go the other to find Bryan. I catch sight of him again just as the tail end of his blue jacket disappears through a set of swinging doors. Travis whispers, It can't be. So you did see him. I chase after Travis as he busts through the doors to the morgue. It's pitch black in here. I hear the sound of metal rattling. Damn it, Travis angrily screams. He must have bumped into something. I slide my hand up and down the walls looking for a light switch. When I find one, I switch it on, and dim light illuminates the room. But the lights keep flickering on and off like they are low on power. I lower my head in defeat after looking around and seeing that Bryan isn't in here. Then I spot another set of swinging doors on the other side of the room. There must be two entrances, that way you can enter from either side and you wouldn't have to bring a body all the way around. Maybe he went through there, I suggest. The lights continue to flicker, casting a strobe-like effect across the room, making it hard to see, but I make out part of Bryan's coat hanging out from under a sheet. I see the blue and red Paw Patrol logo each time the lights flicker back on. I approach the gurney in the middle of the room and see a toe tag dangling from a tiny toe. It says Bryan Thomas Marshall, written in all uppercase letters. It's him, I tell Travis. Where? I don't see him, Travis says, peering through the faint light. The lights continue to flicker, and a moment later the room is engulfed in darkness. I grab at the gurney, then I hear someone burst through the doors. Is it Travis? Did he leave? Or maybe it was Bryan. But when the lights come back on, standing there in front of me is Daniel. I look down at my hand and see that I have Bryan's jacket. I hold it out towards Travis, but he's not paying attention. His mouth is hanging wide open and his eyes are locked on Daniel. So I turn to take a closer look at Daniel, and when my eyes settle on him, I gasp as he takes 2 steps toward us and then collapses to the floor. He's covered in blood and has a petrified look on his face. He's scared shitless. Then screams flood my ears from behind. Someone has come through the other entrance doors to the morgue. I turn around and see Alex and Destiny staring at Daniel in horror. Subscribe for new original stories 3 times a week. See you next time on
Nina's Nightmares.
Really? You're supposed to click the like button, not me. Ugh.